So avoiding commitment. And again, very broad word, and we're not specifically talking about commitment for relationships. It could be jobs, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be careers, many, many different ways that commitment can play into your life, and just avoiding the whole thing of being committed to anything, because A, it requires trust, B, it requires vulnerability. And I just want to share two things associated with that from my chair first. One is accountability, right? Because commitment, and if there's a direct word that equates to it, it's usually the accountability piece that most people struggle with. Because once you commit to something, it's like, oh crap, now I'm accountable to whatever I committed to, whatever that
Right.
might be, right? So they have to reconcile that in whatever terms and ways and fashions it happens in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want to kind of jog back to something I brought up earlier when we were talking about, I think I was talking about my firewall or filter, this kind of thing. We're in that part of the discussion. And I talked about certainty versus uncertainty. And that also has a lot to do with what you commit to and choose not to commit to, is your level of certainty or uncertainty with whatever the situation or person may be, right? If it's something and you feel comfortable, you feel fairly certain that you can manage it, it's the right place for you, it's the right thing for you. If that's what your instincts are telling you, et cetera, you're more likely to follow through and accept that commitment. If you're
Mm-hmm.
more on the uncertainty side of things, then most likely you're not going to uh, take that leap of faith and take that commitment. So starting to understand that there is this slider that we have in our lives about certainty versus uncertainty, and realizing that, and then kind of determining, where you are on it in a certain situation, and then start to work on maybe where you need to get to with that particular thing to get it to be more certain, so you feel more comfortable. Because again, it's all about the self-awareness and the growth that comes from taking those steps.
Absolutely.
I will share when it comes to commitment. The first thing that I really think about, Brian, and it's kind of along with what you said, accountability. There's an expectation that comes when you
Mm-hmm.
commit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I feel about this statement when people say you shouldn't expect anything. Like, have y'all heard that?
Yeah.
That in certain situations, if you don't expect anything, you won't be disappointed. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that thought, because when you commit to anything, there comes an expectation that you're gonna show up to that commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where that originated from. I've seen it in several places, and I'm like, commitment says I can trust that you're going to do what you said you were going to do, right? That commitment, when you make that commitment, I
Mm-hmm.
can sit back and say, okay, I'm good, because they've committed to this. Um, I will tell you, and I want to make this real, I think, important point, because I'm listening as a mother to my kids, especially my boys. Marriage is a commitment,
Mm-hmm.
and when their father decided to leave, they struggled with
Mm-hmm.
the level of commitment that he was not making to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about the word commitment, and I think we can all relate to this, because sometimes that word commitment can be kind of dismissed because we don't want to commit to some things. But this really brings it, I think, to the core of who we are in our relationships, our interactions. And so when my boys are like asking why did he not hold to his commitment to them? We don't have to talk about the marriage point, but to them, what I have learned with this word commitment is, just like Brian said, there's a level of accountability that comes, that when we shy away from the commitments that we made, it does breed not discontent, but this distrust.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm having, and my boys are teens and preteens now. So I'm having to work through what commitment looks like when a man shows up. Because now I can't teach them how to be a man, but I can teach them manhood principles.
Right.
And so
Right.
I'm trying to teach them what commitment looks like for them, right? When they're having the hard conversation or having the conversations with me that I feel like are kind of hard. I'm like, well, honey, this is what commitment will look like for you.
Mm-hmm.
The way someone else showed up with that is going to be different. And the reason I think that is so important is because, you know, we always think commitment when it comes to relationships, right? With the opposite sex or somebody we're in love with. However, the commitment that we make in life to just show up in whatever role we have is so vitally important. And so I don't think we've spent enough time looking at how trust and commitment are so parallel and so important in all of our connections with people in whatever part. So this is one that really touches me because now I have this huge burden and responsibility to say, I have to make sure that what I said I'm going to show up for, that I'm showing up for. And so commitment is something that we have to say is going to be important and valued in our relationships and our connections because we do life with people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they need to be able to trust that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.